The Sony FX3 is an incredible camera, except for one little detail, and that is the cheap ass plastic to construct the top handle. And the top handle is fantastic. You can run XLR through it, you can do the little sound mixer on the side, but they decided to use this terrible, cheap, brittle plastic that has now broken on my camera twice. Sony doesn't even let you buy the handle by itself, at least as far as I can find on the internet. You have to buy it secondhand through eBay or something, which is super sketch and also way more expensive than it should be. And I've seen a ton of other people have this issue, so I decided to make this video showing how I have fixed it for the second time. The first time it happened, I fixed it myself. I took it all apart, put the wires back together, glued everything together, and then about 2 months later, it broke a second time. So that is right now where I will be showing you how I'm going to fix the top handle the same way I did the first time. So a few things I should mention is that if your ribbon cable is broken, you're not going to be able to get it to work again. But in most cases I've heard of, and the both times that I have broken this handle, the ribbon cable just comes out of the motherboard inside of the top piece. And in that case, you can totally fix it. Like, it is not, only the plastic is broken, you know? That's basically what this video is just taking apart the handle correctly in order to get those ribbon cables plugged back into there and have the audio feeds working again, and then gluing the handle back together. Anyway, hopefully this video will be helpful. If this does allow you and show you how to fix your audio handle that was broken because of Sony's cheap ass plastic, please leave a comment letting me know. That would make this whole thing worth it. So yeah, leave a comment if this helps you out, and I'd love to hear about it. Thanks. So what you're gonna need for this is sandpaper, this screwdriver set, a little clamp, Gorilla Glue, and these tweezers, which actually come with the screwdriver set that I have linked in the description that I used. So you want to start by unscrewing these bottom screws in the audio module. There they are. Then you unscrew these larger screws. Get those out of there. Now you see these two screws kind of underneath that mic holder. You want to take those out, and then the mic holder will be released, but you also need to take those screws out in order to actually remove and take apart the whole handle. Then there's one last one here towards the front that's a little tough to get out. Be very careful that you don't strip that one. I almost did here, as you can see. I'm taking it really slow. Requires a lot of pressure. Now you'll see here, I literally had to drill through the screw that was right there, because you need a pretty long, narrow screwdriver to get back inside of there. And you know, last time I fixed this, I just got so fed up with it that I decided to drill right through the screw, and I was able to get it open that way. So I don't recommend doing that. I'd recommend finding a longer, more narrow screwdriver bit that you can use. The kit that I have on hand doesn't allow me to get back in there to that final screw to take it apart. But yeah, that's just how I did it, unfortunately. So, and now at this point, you should be able to take it all apart. You gotta kind of wiggle it around and finagle it a bit, and then that mic cover, the XLR port cover, will come off. You can put that back on later. You take the front panel off, and now you see all the guts inside of it. And there's gonna be a couple tiny, tiny screws, right? So there's one on the side here near where you selected, or actually that's the back where you select the channels. You take that one out. And then once you get that one out, there's gonna be a couple more like deep inside of the handle, like in there where I'm pointing. And those are a bit of a pain in the ass to take out. I ended up just not putting them back in when I put the audio handle back together, because you just don't need to, quite honestly. And it's like impossible to get them back in once you take them back out. But I promise you, the whole thing will fit together. It'll work perfectly fine, and it'll be structurally sound without those tiny screws inside of it, because those larger ones that you took out a second ago are going to be able to hold the whole thing together and you know, keep it all compact. So the next step is to take out this little ribbon cable with your tweezers on the side there. Shouldn't be too difficult. And now you should be able to freely remove the whole thing from its casing. This port right here is where you're gonna attach the ribbon cable that was ripped out when it broke, that one I'm pointing to. So you kind of feed it in back through that hole and get it all in place. And then you're gonna wanna take your clamp. This is really important. You really need this clamp to make this work. Take the clamp and kind of fix everything together and just hold it in place so that you can get to work on everything else without worrying about that falling apart again. And then this is by far the most difficult part of the process. You have to get that ribbon cable back into its port, which is literally impossible without tweezers. So you get it in there with your fingers first, and then you take the tweezers and you have to kind of push it in very gently, but also make sure it's fully in there. It doesn't really click or anything, it just slides in, and eventually you'll kind of know it's in. Like right about here, you can see me almost getting it in, and there. That's how, you know, when it's all level and it's all pushed in, the ribbon cable should be good, should be in working order. Then you slide everything back into the plastic casing. You're gonna have to loosen the grip of the clamp a little bit because it pushes the plastic down. It's just so you can get everything back in there and slide it all in, and then you just get the clamp on again after that. Just be very careful that it doesn't fall apart and rip the ribbon cable out again. That's something that happened when I was actually filming this, when I had to redo everything and put it all back together. So be really cautious of that. And then once that's in there and it can't be pushed in any further, then you can get the glue onto the actual broken part. And you see me right there. Also, a good note is to moisten the plastic a little bit. Gorilla Glue, it says on the instructions to just add a little bit of water to whatever you're gluing, like the tiniest bit of moisture, and then that will make the adhesive work a lot better. So that's something you should do that I didn't show in the video. And then this is just me gluing everything back together and kind of fitting it back into that little puzzle piece spot that it was in when it broke. And then you can see me struggling to keep everything in place, and then you take the clamp and get that back on there. And the next step is to plug in that ribbon cable that we took out when we were initially taking it apart. That's nice and easy, with the tweezers, of course. And then once that is put back together, you just screw in everything that you previously undid and get in those big screws, and everything should be all tight and put together. And once you get all the screws back in place, you should be all set. Obviously test the handle, but it is good as new. Takes all the audio feeds perfectly, sounds great, no technical issues. It's pretty structurally sound, but like I said, I'm definitely going to be buying that 3D printed piece that will essentially wrap around here, and so that if this thing ever bumps into something when you're traveling, or if you drop it or something like that, that 3D printed piece will hopefully keep it intact.